Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Soul Goals podcast. My name is Dawn, and today I have the delight of reconnecting with a great gal that I met. Oh my gosh, how long ago has it been when I met you and your husband, John?
2019, I believe. We
Look at you
we went
knowing
to
what to
CrossFit.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's at
Yeah.
CrossFit, and I swear,
Yeah.
like everything relates back to CrossFit, I think, in my life.
Yeah.
Like
It's
some of
such
my
a it was such a great time. It was a great place. Yeah.
Right, right. Like, and some of my best acquaintances, best friends, best connections really happen. And I'm telling you, I'm
Yeah.
writing a book one day. CrossFit saved my life. CrossFit saved my life. Yeah.
100%. I would
Mhm.
agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So before we get into Amy's story, I want to just recap for anybody that's new on the podcast. This is year 3 of the podcast, and year 1 was done with interviewing and hearing other people's stories of perseverance, challenge, struggle, how they navigated through all of their personal stories in an effort for us to all connect, to find relatability, to not feel so alone and isolated. Year 2 had my co-host Dixie, which was so fun and so challenging at the same time. We did a personal growth exercise each week and then reported back about it. And oof, that was hard, right? Growing in our souls goals. And year 3, we're going back to the interview process. But this year, we're taking on a different subject each week. And I'm calling on people that have walked in that subject and have had experience, personal experience with that subject, to give us their input and kind of feed us with what it is that they walked through in an effort for us to hopefully drop any kind of misconceptions we might have about that subject, maybe open up the box that we may have of preconceived notions, maybe challenge belief systems about different things, and learn a little bit more that maybe we hadn't known or thought about that could pertain to us or someone in our life that we know. So today my friend Amy is joining me, and Amy has gone through a 12-year journey with fertility challenges. And I feel like this subject and these conversations can be so challenging to have. And I don't know that they're talked about as much as they really should be, honestly.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like so many women and so many couples, I'm going to just not limit it to just women, but couples in general that are going through different fertility challenges, whether it's IVF, whether it's miscarriages, whether it's just all the things that go in between everything, don't really get that voice that they deserve. And a lot of it can then be isolating, can be extremely traumatizing, and extremely uprooting to relationships, to themselves personally. And I'm so, so thankful for you coming on today, Amy, and sharing your process, because I know, like before I hit the record, we were talking about it. It's such a vulnerable piece of us to share these deep parts of ourselves that we've been through that we may not have had the opportunity to give a voice to. And I'm just so honored that you would choose to come on today and give us that information that you've walked through. I know inevitably your words will heal someone, will help someone, will give someone hope. So I want to
I hope so.
hear a little bit. Well, first of all, before we get into that, how's John? How's your husband, by the way?
He's good. He's really good. He's with our baby right now. He's in dad mode. So, but
Love it.
yeah, he's great. Yeah.
I'll bet he's an awesome dad. Like when I met you
He
guys,
is.
I was like, you guys are well, you'll be parents of the year. Like, no doubt, no doubt. But John's a cool dude. He's laid
He
back,
is. He
chill.
is. Yeah.
He's everything
I
I
always I always say he's the calm to my storm because I am not.
Oh,
He's he's opposite. He's calm, he's chill, he's level-headed. I'm not. I can
well,
be quite
opposites
anxious and
attract. I
yeah.
think I think it's perfect. You know, you always meet the person that you're supposed to be conjoined with, and he's the one y'all complement each other. I knew that from the beginning. You complement each other very well. So
Thank you.
tell John I said hello, by the way,
I
before you go.
will.
Yeah. So you just mentioned he's in dad mode right now. So kind of to fast forward, this 12-year journey for you has ended with a beautiful gift, a 5-month-old
Yes.
little girl that you
Yeah.
guys are now shepherding and raising. I can't believe it. I love it. And I was just saying, I remember when my daughters were 5 months old, they were doughy and cozy and all the things. So tell me a little bit about what it's like right now being a mom to a 5-month-old.
It it's really indescribable. It's something that I never thought would happen, and I will say the first I still do it today. I was going to say the first couple weeks of her life, all I did was look at her and cry because it was something I never thought would happen.
Yeah.
But I still do it. I still look at her and cry, and I'm just so grateful. It's been challenging. I will say the newborn trenches were something that I never expected.
Right.
And she's had some like digestive issues and reflux and things like that to have to deal with, that have been challenging, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's amazing. It's taken a long time to get here, and I just have such a full heart. I can't even describe it.
Yeah, totally. Being a parent is such a big deal. I mean, and I'm gonna take it a step further and say, like, because I'm a woman and you're a woman and we're having this conversation about birthing a child, like, I think about the connection that moms have after carrying a child, and
Mhm.
after growing that human and housing them for close to 10 months.
Yeah.
It's a big connection. It's a big deal. So I totally feel you on that, looking at that, looking in awe at your child and going, "Oh my gosh, like this is it." Yeah. And I wasn't in your shoes. So we can go back now. Tell me a little bit about your journey, where it started and fertility challenges began for you, because 12 years is a long time to be sitting in that.
It is. So my husband and I got married in January of 2013. We had our first miscarriage in November of 2013. And at the time, we were almost 8 weeks along. We were told by the doctor, it happens. This is just a thing. It just happens. Uh, 2015, it happened again. I had, before it happened again, I will say I found a new doctor.
Mhm.
Uh, we were trying to get pregnant again. We did 2 rounds of Clomid. Those rounds did not work. And we ended up having a laparoscopy done. Uh, and in that procedure, they discovered severe endometriosis. I had a blocked fallopian tube. I even had what's called a bicornuate uterus, which is sort of like a heart shaped uterus. So your uterus has two sides where it should just be a hole.
Mhm.
She flushed my tubes. After that, we got pregnant again. So that was 2016. It ended up being a miscarriage. It was also what's called a partial molar pregnancy, which is kind of rare, and it's where the egg is actually fertilized by two sperm. And
Mhm.
it can lead to cancer. So you have to have your HCG levels monitored for an extended period of time after that.
Right.
That was, I will say, probably one of my most challenging miscarriages. Um, I had to have two procedures done because the first one, they didn't clean everything out, and ended with a lot of heavy bleeding and all of that. So that was a very stressful time. Plus, I had to have continuous blood work done, and
Right.
it just felt like it was never ending. Um, 2019, I had another miscarriage.
Amy,
Um,
I mean,
so I had a new doctor at this time. We had just moved to Tennessee. Um, this doctor at this point decided to do extensive blood work after the fact.
mhm,
That blood work revealed that I had the MTHFR gene mutation and also a clotting disorder. Um, so we kind of came up with a plan. If I were to get pregnant again, they'd put me on baby aspirin, that kind of thing.
right.
Um, so 2022, I had another loss. And at that point, my doctor, same doctor I had in 2019, decided to refer me to a fertility specialist in Atlanta.
Mhm.
Uh, so going to that fertility specialist, they discovered I had so many tests done, tons of testing done, some of them extremely painful.
Mm,
One of
sure.
them was called an HSG, which was probably the worst pain I've ever been in. I can't even describe it.
Mhm.
Um, but they discovered that I was actually misdiagnosed with a bicornuate uterus, and I actually had a septum in my uterus, so I had that removed.
Okay.
Um, and the fertility specialist was like, okay, I think you're good to get pregnant on your own. You shouldn't have any issues. We've taken care of this. I removed a very large septum. you should be able to hold the pregnancy.
And that was in 2022.
That was in 2023.
Oh, my
And
gosh.
then in October of 2023, we had another miscarriage after this, after I had that septum removed. They did genetic testing on the embryo, and it revealed that there were some abnormalities. There was, including a microduplication, which was on the paternal side.
Mhm.
And at that point, the specialist in Atlanta was like, okay, really your only option is IVF.
Mm,
You have no problem getting pregnant, but for some reason, these losses keep occurring.
mhm.
And I saw a geneticist. My husband and I both had a ton of blood work done, and it was kind of like, it was IVF with genetic testing was our only option. And ironically enough, I had just changed jobs in in 2023 they updated our insurance to cover IVF.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah,
Wow.
lifetime cycles of IVF, and cover the cost of medication and everything. So, um, yeah, ironically enough, that's the only way we could have ever done IVF. It had crossed our mind before, but it's so expensive that it was
Right.
never an option for us prior to that. So, 2024, in April of 2024, we started IVF. We did one round in April and one round in July. So, we did two egg retrievals. And then we did our first transfer in September 25th, and it ended up being successful. So after lots of heartbreak and medication and injections and testing, um, we ended up being pregnant, and it's sticking.
Yeah.
So
I mean, as I'm hearing you talk about this, I feel like, okay, one miscarriage is hard enough. One, two, three, four, five. We're talking six miscarriages.
it's
So,
a
first
lot.
of all, the first thing that I think about through all of that, and it makes me want to tear up because I think about the emotional component about like why,
Yeah.
the questioning, right? And then, yeah, secondarily, you talked about how painful some of those different processes were that you were going through
Hmm.
physically.
Yeah.
So, let's talk a little bit about those two things. Like, what was that emotional piece for you? I can imagine after the first time, there's disappointment, right?
Yes.
There's hurt. There's obviously the physical layer of all of it as well. But I don't know how I would have felt given the amount of loss that you experienced from 2013 for over 10 a 10-year basis.
Yes. Uh, After the first one, I ended up developing terrible anxiety and PTSD, and it was crazy. Uh, but then when they continuously started to happen, I sort of became numb. It was almost like whenever we would get pregnant, we wouldn't share it with family because we ultimately were worried that it was going to end up in a loss, and typically it did. And it got to the point where we'd had so many that I feel like our family didn't even know how to react. Nobody knew what to say, and we just didn't want to make people uncomfortable anymore. Um, because when it gets to the like when you know somebody who goes through loss after loss after loss, like what do you say to them?
Yeah.
And so we just kind of started keeping it a secret whenever it would happen, and we'd tell our family after the fact. Um,
So that to me is so that's what I was talking about kind of in the intro is that isolating piece that so many women do and kind of go through because they feel alone. They feel like they've had multiple losses and like it's the awkwardness of here we go again. But
mhm,
then you're also screaming for support. You need
right.
support. So it's like this weird where do you find one foot here, one foot there? How do you navigate that? Like, and
Yeah.
I know, let's talk a little bit about your relationship with your spouse. Like, tell me about the two of you are kind of teammates here. Like you had to stick
Yes,
together.
we did. We I know that it was very hard for him. going through all of it. But he was, like I said, he's my rock. He's my calm to my storm. He um, always found a way to sort of keep me level headed, but we had to communicate. We
Mhm.
went through so much, and if one of us was going through something, we couldn't close off. We had to make sure that we were talking about what we were going through because none of it gets easier. And if you don't, we've learned that if we didn't communicate, that's when things got hard between
Right.
us.
Right. Yeah, that makes total sense. I think too that it's very polarizing. And then your relationship suffers when you really need the other so much.
Mhm.
You need that support. And I mean, you're, like I said, you're a team, you're in it together. Golly. How did you stay grounded during all that together as a couple? I mean, like it sounds to me like maybe I'm stepping outside here, but it sounds to me like, when you're talking about we had to stay open, we had to stay communicative. Did you go through therapy and different things of that nature to help get you there?
We did. We saw a therapist a few times, but it wasn't something that we did consistently. We didn't stick with it.
Mhm.
We just really just leaned on each other. I don't know how else to describe it. It was sort of something that we kind of together felt isolated. Like I said, we didn't want to, whenever it happened, we didn't want to talk to our family about it. Um, but we really, we leaned into our faith and we leaned into each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk to me about faith because I think about different things that I've walked through and traumas that I've been in. And I'm like, is this really from God? Like, God,
Yeah.
why are you doing this? And the
Yeah.
questioning, like that anger that comes up when something happens in our lives that is unexpected, that is unfortunate, that is traumatic. And we're going, well, okay, well, God, where are you? Why would this happen? How did that, how did all of this culminate to, hand in hand with faith for you?
It was a struggle. I will say it was a roller coaster. I went through many different feelings. I went through anger. Uh, I was angry at God. Like, why did this happen? Why does this keep happening? And it was something that I really had to have a conversation with myself and with God and just stop asking why.
Mm,
Um,
mhm.
because whenever I went down that why road, it didn't lead to anything good. And I would compare myself to others, and um, it was just it, it it didn't lead me down a path that I needed to go on. So I started really just having conversations with God and just talking about, I don't know what the future holds, and just sort of trying to reconnect because there was a long time that I was very angry.
Yeah.
And um, throughout this whole journey, there were times that I gave up, that we had just kind of resigned to the fact that we weren't going to have kids. And there was a couple times where we were both kind of at peace with it.
Okay.
But then we would get pregnant again and then we'd go through that roller coaster again. Um, but it was, it was, like I said, it was a roller coaster, and it was something that I really had to work on
Mm,
as far as staying in my faith. And um, when we lived in Tennessee the first time, we found a really good church that we started going to and kind of just leaning into the weekly messages and the people within the church community. And uh, moving back to Tennessee, we've done the same thing.
mhm.
We reconnected, and it's it's just it's been complicated. I will say it's not
Yeah.
always been easy.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I think you brought up a really great point about you had to stop asking the why.
mhm.
And I think that speaks volumes to your ability to surrender to the unknown.
Yeah.
And like I don't know, I mean, healing after loss, because I think about this, you had multiple losses.
Mhm.
Did you, the healing that goes along after each one of those losses, the amount of surrender you would have to then say, okay, we'll try this again. Or the peace, like you just talked about, that you and your husband got to maybe a couple different times that were like, okay, if this is what it's going to be, then we're good with it.
Mhm.
only to then have that hope come spring back up again for some reason, right?
Yeah.
Like let's talk just a smidge about how that what does that healing look like for you after every loss? What is that where
I
does that
don't
sit with you?
I don't know that I ever really completely healed after the losses. I feel like Amelia is my daughter's name. I feel like she healed me.
Mm,
Finally being able to hold her in my arms and have her, that baby healed me. And I don't think I was even healed until I actually saw her and got to hold her, because going through the losses that I did, that pregnancy was not easy
yeah.
mentally.
Yeah.
Uh, it was it was hard to every day not have the worry, and that that the rug was gonna be pulled out from under me like it had been continuously. So,
Mm,
I don't know that I ever really healed completely after each loss. I think it was more so becoming numb almost
mm, mhm.
to, that it just kept happening, and just kind of accepting it, I guess.
Yeah, well, it just became a part of your story, a part of your path. And I think too, if we think about that from a faith standpoint, about like the path that we walk and the things that we experience and that test us and that test our faith and that test our resilience, if you will. I mean, it's really hard not to isolate. It's really hard not to go numb, specifically when it's continuing to happen and it's really outside of your control. I mean, I
Mhm,
think for me, what I hear you saying is that both you and John did so much work along the way about, okay, what is it that we can feasibly do? What is it that we need to know more information about? Why is this happening? You're not just sitting back and going, oh, whoa, whoa, is me.
mhm.
Why, here we go again, without doing honest work about uncovering different things that are going on with you physically and all mentally as well. I think there's so many that the two things go hand in hand.
Yeah, and honestly, there were some times that we just kinda threw our hands up and we're like, we don't wanna go down this road anymore. We don't want to ask any more questions. We are happy together, and if it ends up being just the 2 of us, then that's fine. And, so there were a lot of times that we just worked on our relationship together, because it may have just ended up being the 2 of us for the rest of our lives, and we were fine with that.
Yeah.
And it it was just it's been a it's been trying emotionally, mentally, spiritually,
Hmm.
um, but again, we really leaned on each other, leaned on our faith, and, um, we tried to heal each other as best as we could.
Yeah. Well, and you can relate to one another. You're in it together. You're in the boat.
Mhm.
You're rowing the boat together,
Yeah.
right? Also, I think it's interesting to we talk about like expectations, and what I hear you saying is that when you put those expectations, that pressure to, okay, we're going to try this again, or here we go again, or all the things that fill you when you go through something like that repeatedly,
Mhm.
when you could put that expectation over here and go, all right, we are settled with whatever is, it brings a certain amount of peace to you, at least for the moment. Like
Mhm.
there's a peace
Yeah.
that comes through you. And I know from my experience, when I'm able to get to that point, and let me just tell you how hard that is. I mean,
Mhm.
like it's hard to get to a peaceful place. But even if it's 1%, it's more than what we've had maybe before. But when I can get to a point where I can find at least 1% of acceptance or release of expectation, it opens a window. It
Mhm.
opens a slight space for new to come in and for new to exist and opportunities to kind of present themselves. And I mean, not that this is a new opportunities for another loss. That's not what I'm saying. But I think that you're uncovering so many different things about you and about your husband and about your relationship and what
Mhm.
it is that what your ultimate end goal is. But you have to be okay with if that doesn't happen. Like, what do we do if that doesn't happen?
And I really leaned into fitness. I think about in 20 end of 2022, um, after that miscarriage, I ended up hiring a fitness coach, and was I ended up being in the best shape of my life. I had lost like 20 pounds. I had muscle. I was able to do pull-ups for the first time in my life. Like I was just laser focused on my fitness
Mhm.
and in such a great mental state. And that when the miscarriage happened in 2023, it almost didn't affect me because my focus was so just on fitness.
Mhm.
And it's something that I really, really put my heart into
Mhm.
to help me through a lot of this as well. So,
Would that be a
weightlifting,
suggestion maybe for other people? Like to find a focus to kind of get to let some of the pressure off of the situation at hand, maybe?
it helped me. If it would be a suggestion. I remember going to therapy one time, and I had a therapist tell me that uh, 30 minutes of exercise was equal to 50 milligrams of Zoloft or something like that. And it really stuck with me. And I just really, there were several times where I would really, during this whole journey, where I would really focus in on my fitness and working out and lifting weights. And it really took me out of a bad mental state.
Mhm. I remember seeing on social media, and you guys weren't in the area, you had moved, and you and John were doing, I don't know if it was 75 hard or if it was some kind of, did you guys
Yeah.
was that what it
Yeah.
was?
We've done it a few times. Yeah.
Yeah, but, like,
Yeah.
the fact that I mean, that takes if no one knows what 75 hard is, look that up, and you'll be,
Yeah.
like, so amazed. It's
It'll change
such
your life.
changing yeah, life-changing completely and
Yeah.
very, very, very challenging depending upon where you are in your life, obviously.
Mhm.
But the fact that the 2 of you kind of dove into that together, that, I love that, and
Yeah.
I think when we do create a focus, I mean, you gotta be mindful, and I love what you said. I mean, you go to therapy too. You've done work around this piece for you, obviously. I mean, for you to be able to have a conversation about it tells me that you've done some really good work about it, honestly. But I think sometimes it's not about running from the problem and leaving it over here and going, I don't want to deal with that. It's about creating some space so that your focus isn't so compressed and so much
Mhm.
pressure on the why, the how, the what's going to happen next, all of the different things. So when we can kind of turn our car and go this fork in the road instead of continually steering down this muddy path that keeps putting hurdles in front of us, sometimes it allows the smooth road to appear,
Mhm.
honestly. Um,
Yeah. If I didn't have something to shift and focus on, I was not in a good place.
yeah. Yeah. Talk to me about hope and what hope means to you after going through all of this, because and we think about hearing it because I've not heard this. I knew you struggled and I knew that
Mhm.
you went through a lot, but I had no idea that you went through 6 specific miscarriages and that all of the pieces in between each one. I had no idea.
I
Tell me how hope plays a role in your life now, even.
hope is I actually it's interesting because I have a tattoo on my arm that says hope, and I
Okay.
wear a necklace every day it says hope. It's something that whenever I would resign to the fact that it just wasn't happening, there was always something inside me telling me not to
Mm,
give up hope. And I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was God or if it was my inner conscious or what, but there was always something inside me just telling me not to give up hope. And after I had the miscarriage in 2016, I went and got this tattoo as a reminder that I didn't need to give up hope. And I was gonna it's funny because I was going to name our little girl, have her middle name be Hope, but I didn't want her initials to be AHO. So um
yeah,
her middle name is actually Faith. So
okay.
it's
Mhm.
still because during pregnancy that was the only thing I had to lean on was my faith because it was so challenging
Yeah.
mentally. But to me, throughout this process, that hope has been that little voice inside me just saying, "Don't give up." So I if that was God, I don't know.
Yeah.
I like to think it was because of the way everything worked out, but yeah.
Well, I think too that shows just how much resilience you have and the like showing up, continuing to show up is a big deal because honestly, I mean, when hard things happen, we have choices. We have choices to retreat and to hide from it, or we have choices to dive in and go, okay, let me do what I can do and then release the rest to wherever it is. And it sounds to me like whether it's whether it's something you consciously did or something that was like thrust upon you, that it's like God's like, hey, here we go. I'm going to give you this opportunity to really balance these two issues out in your life. It
Mhm.
sounds like you've gotten to that point and
Mhm.
you really had to get to that point. I mean,
Yeah.
what has all of this experience for the last 12 years, what has it taught you about yourself personally?
I'm gonna close my blinds really quick.
Yeah, you're good. You know what's so funny because you're sitting there and the light is coming in and all I can you're talking about faith and you're talking about hope and I'm like, God is coming in and telling you yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. What was the question
Okay.
again? I apologize. Hopefully you can edit that out.
No, it's all good. I'm gonna keep it in there too because I think that it's important to see that we have life happening behind us. It's you're a new mom, you got stuff going on too. What has all of this taught you about yourself personally? And what has that kind of what direction has that created for you?
Honestly, it's taught me that I I'm a control freak. I like to control every part of my life, uh, but it's taught me that I can't do that.
Mm,
Infertility is something that you have no control over, and I've learned that through this process, and I learned that through the pregnancy, I learned that through IVF, like, you can only control the controllables, the things you do have control over, but there are things in your life like this that you cannot control, so
yeah.
you have to give up control. And that was very hard for me. So that's something that this whole journey has taught me. And it's also taught me that I'm a lot stronger than I thought I was.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I want to talk a little bit about your pregnancy with your daughter and the beautiful gift that you now have from the last 12 years of struggle. And you said it a couple different times already about the mental side of that pregnancy and how challenging that was for you.
Hmm.
Was there guilt involved? Was there fear involved? What were the overriding emotions that you were feeling during all that after being in um, such horrible circumstances with your body, with your mind, with everything that was going on surrounding you that the controllable you couldn't control?
Hmm. I wouldn't say there wasn't guilt involved, but there was a lot of fear.
Mm,
Um, so basically, after you do your transfer, you have the 10-day waiting period before you can go have your levels tested.
mhm.
And that's that 10 days feels like a lifetime.
Yeah.
And then having the positive test, we'd been through that so many times before. So it was like going to these appointments, we never wanted to get our hopes up.
Right.
And, there were a couple of our miscarriages where we actually did see a heartbeat and had hope. And then the next time we'd go, there was no longer a heartbeat. So going to these appointments, and I was so nervous on the drive to these appointments.
Mhm.
It was I had a lot of fear, and that was
Mhm.
something I really, really had to pray about
Mhm.
because I knew that I couldn't let it consume me for health reasons because I didn't like, I needed to be as healthy as possible for this pregnancy or during this pregnancy. But there were things that I faced during the pregnancy. I ended up having a little bit of bleeding in the beginning, and that was like a trauma that I had dealt with in the past.
Right.
And it was just like, I'm going through this again. Like that, I had to try to keep those thoughts out of my mind.
Yeah.
Um, it was a constant battle, a big struggle
Yeah.
to, and I started going to a therapist during this pregnancy. I saw one consistently
Hmm.
every 2 weeks just to kind of help talk me through
Yeah.
because I was afraid. I was afraid of, I'd gotten this far, I had gone through all of this. What if I lost this one too?
Yeah.
And um, there was just so much more that went into this because prior to there were a few times where we were trying to get pregnant, but sometimes it would just happen on
Hmm.
accident, if you will.
Yeah.
Um, but this we really put a lot into emotionally, physically. Going through IVF is hard on your body, and I did 2 rounds of it, and financially. So there was a lot that went into this pregnancy, and um, I felt like there was a lot to lose. And now that I have her, I'm so thankful and so grateful. But it was very hard.
Yeah.
I struggled a lot with fear.
Yeah, it sounds like so much. And thank you for saying that because I think we miss that the investment isn't just financial. It is mental and emotional too. And I think too, for even women that haven't had the number of miscarriages that you have, even if they've only had one, having a healthy pregnancy that starts out and having that fear that comes in about, oh my God, what if this happens again? And what this is looking like this, and having to step outside of that. The emotional part, the investment of we're going to give it another go, we're going to do this, and just the trust that kind of has to go with it. The
Yeah,
blind
we had made
blind faith.
Yeah, we had made the decision that if IVF didn't work, then that we will just accept it.
Yeah.
So IVF was our last attempt,
Mhm. Yeah.
and I just think back to but I'm 41 years old,
Mhm.
and my pregnancy, because it was IVF pregnancy and because of my age and my history, I was very heavily monitored. So
Yeah.
when I hit 32 weeks, I had to go in for twice weekly appointments. I went to maternal fetal medicine and then saw my doctor um, for the remainder of the pregnancy twice a week. So in the beginning, I was monitored um, pretty pretty extensively as well. I want to say every other week,
Yeah.
um, but that is something that I know a lot of people are against all those ultrasounds and all of that, but it actually gave me peace after a certain point to be able to go in there and see her and know that she's okay
Yeah, it's
and
peace
know
of
that
mind.
everything is, yeah.
And I think there's nothing there is absolutely nothing wrong, and I'm gonna say from hearing your story, there's at the point where you were, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if that is gonna help create a feeling of ease for you within the pregnancy, then that's ultimately what needs to happen so that you can grow a healthy baby because all of those things do show up. It
Mhm.
all does show up. And like you said, I think you had to be extremely conscientious about how you were maneuvering through your world, not only just in your physicality with the IVF, but also your thoughts and the process as well. And just making sure that you were staying on that path of an experience that we have. This is a different experience right now. I'm going
Mhm.
to believe it. I'm going to see it. I'm going to feel it. And that's the road we're going to drive on.
Yeah, I remember my therapist telling me, because I had said something about how I didn't want to get my hopes up. And I remember her telling me something to the effect of, so what if you do get your hopes up? Is it going to change anything? At least you've enjoyed where you are and what you're going through right now. What is She basically was just telling me, what does it help to have fear and to be anxious as opposed to going ahead and getting your hopes up and looking forward to the future, like,
I
and
love
I
that.
remember her saying that kind of flipped a switch in me,
Yeah.
because after she said that, I ended up, doing maternity pictures and having a baby shower and all of that, and just kind of letting go and accepting that this was going to happen, because it took me a really long time to do that.
Mm. That's a gift right there. That's a huge pivotal piece. I think that I'm so glad that you had that, that she offered that advice to you, because I think that's, and honestly too, I mean, you could have taken it or leave it, but you dove
Yeah.
into it, and ultimately how that affected you and benefited you for sure.
Mhm.
Let's talk a little bit about IVF specifically for those that are
Mhm.
listening that may be in the midst of it, or maybe considering it, or maybe going, this has been something that's recommended to me. Like, what are some of the misconceptions? What are the pros? What are the cons in your experience along the way from IVF, which is that is the last, you did 2 rounds of it, is what you said.
Mhm.
That was the last specific piece that you did before you ended up having a successful pregnancy. So give me a little bit about your path and the pros and cons, basically, that you have experienced with IVF for other people to know.
I feel like right now IVF is such a controversial topic, and I I feel like people who are against it maybe really don't understand it.
Yeah.
And it I wouldn't have what I have today if it wasn't for IVF.
Yeah.
So I'm incredibly thankful, and the way I look at it is science can only take you so far. The
Hmm.
rest God has to handle.
Hmm.
Science took us so far, but God did the rest. We we did what we needed to do. We did the the medications, saw the doctors, went through all the testing, and then God, in my opinion, God did the rest.
Yeah.
And IVF it's very hard on your body. I The second round, I ended up with OHSS, which is ovarian stimulation syndrome,
Hmm.
which can be fatal, and they have to put you on medication to avoid any complications.
Yeah.
Um, but it's doing the shots every day and just everything that you have to go through. It takes a lot mentally to go through it.
Mhm.
And if anybody is out there going through IVF and is in the midst of it, just keep pushing, keep going through, because you may end up with the greatest blessing.
Yeah. I love what
Um,
you said about science can only take you so far. The rest is in God's hands. And I specifically love that you address that, because I think you're right. I think there are a lot of people that do look at it as it's a controversial subject. And, if you're supposed to be pregnant, God will allow it to be kind of that kind of thing. But I think there's a piece of us that has to look at the other side of the coin as
mhm,
well. And the fact that, you know, if we have this accessible to us to do, and it's something that we are invested in doing, and it's a path that we're willing to walk through, because we've done all of the work that we could to get to this point. And like, it's something you deserve to experience. It really is. And I think too, you said it, that you and John got to a point where, like, if this doesn't work, we're gonna be at peace. We're gonna know that
mhm,
we've done everything that we could have done. So to me, what I hear you saying is that, you know, it's not controversial. It was essential for you. And I
mhm,
think so many people lose fact of, for fear of judgment, for
mhm,
fear of, it's got to be this way. And if it's not this way, then it's not supposed to be, or it's,
right.
all of those things. But there's so much gray area in all these different things that we just, I think if we explore the gray area a little bit more, we might find, that we lean one direction more than the other direction on any given day. Like, our pendulum
Mhm,
can swing one direction or the other, but we got to get in that gray area and not be afraid to explore some of the different things that are benefiting people.
mhm,
And I think showing up in the world in that way it's hard for people to do, right? It's hard for
mhm,
us to go, I believe in this, or I don't believe in this. But instead, if we can learn from other people's experience, like what you just told us today about, the path that you walked and how difficult it was, but how resilient and how important it was for you and your husband to be a part of.
Hmm.
Think that can open up some more gray area for people to go, you know what? I haven't considered that part of it.
Hmm.
Yeah. What would be a message that you would want to leave with listeners today regarding any of your path, regarding miscarriages in general, regarding IVF in general, regarding fear that you experience, and regarding anxiety that and PTSD that came along the way with you as well?
Um, One of the biggest things I can say is if if somebody is s- I will say suffering, because if you're going through infertility, you're suffering through it. It's not easy to go through. Um, Definitely advocate for yourself. Don't
Mm,
be afraid to ask additional questions or get additional testing done. Do your own research. Um, and then on the other side of that, kind of let go of expectations. I think a lot of times we have expectations, and then if things don't meet those expectations, we're really let down or disappointed. Um, and oftentimes things don't always go as we expect them to, um, whether it's timing or uh, how you expected it to happen. But kind of let go of those expectations and just trust that whatever is meant to happen is going to eventually happen. And I will say, going through this journey, when people used to tell me, "Oh, it's in God's plan," or "It's all God's timing," that's something that we don't wanna hear.
yeah,
It's
right.
very hard to hear that. Um, so me saying this, I feel like is a little bit, um, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a little bit, uh, sort of backtracking on what I just said, but it's really is, you have to just trust that whatever's meant to happen will happen. And that's why one of the things that we came to peace with was whether or not if it's meant to happen, then it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Um,
I
we
don't
just,
feel well, I don't feel like it's backtracking, like what you just said. I feel like what I hear you saying is that because of these circumstances, you had to find balance between those two existences, if you will.
mhm,
I think it's important, and I really just kind of hit me. It's that gray area. You have to be in the gray area. That all or none kind of mentality, I think, is where we tend to get ourselves stuck in the why,
mhm,
right? That you
yeah,
guys and the expectations that you guys all had to work throughout the last 12 years to get you there. And I do love what you said about you have to advocate for yourself in this
mhm,
situation. Like anything, I think it's vital for us to know, information is power for what's
mhm,
happening with us and inside of us, medically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, even. And seeking out information, knowing more about what that is for us in our experience is vital for us to have the premise of, okay, this is a direction I need to go. And I believe that that's of God. I
mhm.
believe that that advocacy is of God. I believe that that learning and that leaning in is of God as well.
Yeah, yeah. I think that there's so much information that you can find out about online these days. Like you can dig into so much.
Yeah.
And finding out that I had the MTHFR gene mutation, I learned by doing my research what I can do. Um, and also finding out that I had a clotting disorder. Um, that was something I brought up to my OB, and she was in um, communication with my fertility specialist, because once you get pregnant, they kind of let you go. They hand you over
Yeah.
to your OBGYN. But I was placed on Lovenox, which is a blood thinner, throughout my entire pregnancy,
Mhm.
um, and 6 months postpartum or 6 weeks postpartum as well. So,
Mhm.
um, but that was something that I had done some research on, and brought it up to my doctor. So it's it's one of those things that you really have to advocate for yourself. If you think that additional testing should be done, request it, ask for
Yeah,
it.
do it.
Um,
Like it's I think too, like specifically, like it's that gut instinct, it's that gut
mhm,
feeling that you have. Like listen to that because I think so many times it's something that we kind of shut down depending on our experience. It's like, well, it didn't happen before, so that gut feeling was what I had before, and it's a disappointment kind of thing you were talking about. You got to let go of that disappointment.
mhm.
Um, Tell me a little bit about how you are now. Where are things for you physically right now? With a 5-month old, you're still in that postpartum situation.
Mhm.
What's happening with you in terms of moving forward physically, moving forward even mentally, emotionally, and spiritually for where you are?
That's something I am working on. Physically, I honestly am not where I kind of expect. I guess again with expectations, I expected myself to be at a certain point. I've
Mhm.
made progress to that point, but I have to remember that my body did something amazing that I never thought it was going to be able to do in the first place. So accepting that and accepting what my body did, um, I my pregnancy ended up resulting in a C-section because my labor did not progress.
Mm.
So uh, that's the recovery was very difficult, but luckily I have an amazing husband who almost did everything for those first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Um, but it's accepting what my body did and being okay with how my body looks has been a challenge, and I remember my therapist telling me, "It's okay to feel both ways. It's okay
Mhm.
to, um, want to improve, and it's okay to, um, accept what your body did." So, um, that was something she's kind of, like, honed that into me a lot. It's okay to feel 2 ways, because
Yes.
going through the pregnancy, my body was changing. I saw a number on a scale that I never saw before, and
Right.
I felt guilty for feeling certain ways,
Yeah.
and she that was one thing that she told me that she's like, "It's okay to feel this way, and it's okay to feel that way at the
Mm.
same time."
Mhm.
So, um, but as of right now, I'm just enjoying all of the baby snuggles and it's been a learning experience. It's not been easy, I will say that. It's
Yeah, you were
been
saying she's a bit of a Velcro baby for you guys
She
right now.
is, but it's probably because we just have loved her so much that
Oh,
um, like, this is 12, 13 years in the making, so we have just enjoyed all of it, and I actually go back to work on Monday, so I've had a cry or 2 today just
Amy.
snuggling with her that that I go back to work on Monday, so it's, yeah, she's so incredibly loved, and, um,
And she's not
I
5 months old. I would say she's 12 years old, you know? That's a
everything we went through led to her,
yeah.
and I there are times I just look at her and I cry because I just can't believe that she's here.
Yeah. Oh, I'm with you. Look, I'm crying right now. Yeah. Yeah. And I also just wanna say too, I just wanna reiterate what your therapist told you, that it's okay to feel more than one way. You can feel both ways. So anybody that's going through anything of this nature that's in struggle, it's okay to feel angry. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel hope and it's okay to feel fear.
Mhm.
Those experiences can intermingle. They can be in the same dish, if you will.
Yeah.
It's understanding how they um, metabolize in our lives and how they move through our lives. I think that's the biggest piece for us and what we can take away from that and the choices that we make moving forward. The advocating for yourself, the learning more about what it is that you can do to make this a possibility. The then releasing the self. Hey, I'm with you. I'm a self control. I'm a control freak
Mhm.
as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
and having to let go and surrender, all the pieces that you learn along the way. So, so vital in this process.
Yeah,
Mm,
surrender is a very good word.
mm.
Yeah.
Well, and as your baby grows, I will just tell you with a 22-year-old and an 18-year-old, I still call them my little girls, my little girls. Um, Surrender doesn't stop. Oh gosh, I was just telling you before we hit the record, like, yeah, adult parenting is so different than obviously than infant parenting, but
Mhm.
oof, like it's all beautiful and it's all wonderful and it's all such a gift that I know that you don't take for granted. And
Not at all.
yeah, I'm so so thankful for you being so vulnerable and sharing so openly about your process that I had no idea that that was all happening for you and John. And to that point, I would just remind listeners that we never, ever know what people are walking through.
Mhm.
We don't. And we just don't. So
So be
thank you for
kind.
sharing. Yeah. Thank you for sharing, for being vulnerable, for being open, and for being transparent about everything that you went through and that you're still continuing to work. You're still a work in progress. We all are. We all are.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's Halloween, but this is gonna be aired in December, so is your sweet little daughter are you putting any kinda cute little Halloween festivities on?
Yes. I call her my little pumpkin, so she's dressing up like a pumpkin. So
Yes, of
yes,
course, of course.
yes,
So hopefully I'll see some pictures on social media of her in a little pumpkin suit, right.
yeah,
Aw, and tell John I said hello.
I
Miss seeing
will.
you guys, and, so glad that you have this wonderful gift, this little sweet little girl, and
Thank
I wish you
you.
nothing but the best and continued progress for your darling family that you're gonna continue to grow.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.